My sister insulted my waitress job. She told me to get a real career. I told her I was actually her husband's boss. After I canceled his raise, she begged me in tears. Emma's fork froze mid-air the moment she and her husband walked into the private dining room, and she instantly switched into her usual showy behavior. Emma always acted like she needed an audience, always ready with a comment meant to show she was above everyone. And tonight, she didn't even wait until dessert. She made sure her voice carried across the table when she said, "Please, don't ask about her job. She makes money carrying plates. Let's not expect too much." She leaned back, smirked, tugged at her lips, and a burst of sharp, loud laughter broke out around me, painfully familiar. Even though my stomach tightened, I kept my shoulders steady. I had expected something like this and came prepared, yet hearing it said out loud still struck a nerve. My father only cleared his throat. He didn't defend me. My aunt whispered something to my uncle, and they both laughed again. I forced a small smile. "Cute," was all I could say. "That's creative," Emma replied with an exaggerated shrug. "I'm just being honest. Serving tables isn't the same as working in a corporate job." Her husband, Ryan, sat across from me and loosened his collar. He gave me a small nod, his eyes showing sympathy. We weren't close, but he wasn't openly cruel like she was. Still, he looked around restlessly. The kind of reaction someone has when they know something others don't. My heart started racing as I considered my options. It was obvious Emma didn't know who she was mocking tonight. Even I wasn't sure why I had kept it to myself for so long. The truth was simple. I still worked part-time as a waitress. I liked it. I enjoyed the people and the pace. But that was only part of the picture. I had never corrected anyone who assumed it was my main job. That work had helped me financially after college. But the one thing no one in my family ever asked about was the one thing that changed everything. The director of employee relations at Silver Oak Tech, the one who approves salaries, including Ryan's, earns a six-figure income and has an office overlooking the city. Emma had no idea. But Ryan did. My family didn't. And even though I hadn't planned to reveal it, Emma kept pushing every button I had. As if I wasn't there, my father turned to Ryan. "So, Ryan," he said, "how's that company treating you? Silver something? Silver Tech?" My lips twitched slightly. Hearing the name of my workplace at this table felt surreal. My father nodded. "Big place, good salary. Didn't you get promoted recently?" "Yes," Ryan replied slowly. "I did," Emma announced proudly, gripping his arm. I held back the sharp reply that came to mind as she added, "He's doing the real work here, while Ava brings home leftover burgers." I took a slow breath. Under the table, I squeezed my napkin. Ryan gave me a tense look, part apology, part plea not to expose him. He knew Emma's comments were causing problems. Most of all, he knew the person who approved his raise 5 days ago was sitting across from him. But he stayed silent. I tilted my head as though interested. I pretended her remarks didn't bother me. When someone asked Ryan what kind of raise he received, the table grew quieter. He shifted uncomfortably. A pretty big one," he said. "Amazing," Emma jumped in. I stopped myself from laughing. They would have been foolish not to promote him. He had natural leadership skills. If she only knew how many nights he stayed late reviewing policies and messaging me to clarify things because he didn't want to look unsure in front of his supervisor. Mom nodded. "I'm very proud of him." I lifted my water glass. Ryan clenched his jaw, already sensing where I might go. Congratulations, Ryan. A raise is always nice. Lunch continued, but the tension near me changed. I could feel it. Emma kept pushing, waiting for something she thought would entertain her. So, tell us, she said toward me, how many tables did you wait on today, or yesterday, or whenever you worked? She laughed at her own comment. I forced a tight grin. I've had a lot on my plate lately, I replied. She sipped her wine. I'm sure. Dad added, busy carrying bread baskets. Then, we always hoped you'd aim for more, dear Ava. My heartbeat slowed as I realized I needed something solid and honest. It felt like a switch flipped inside me. Emma waved a hand. Let's not do this. I'm not insulting her, I'm just saying what she is. Dad gently said, Emma, let her speak. The table went still. Emma's eyebrows shot up. Ryan let out a tense exhale. That was when I noticed it, the shift. What? Why? Emma asked. Ryan said, Ava doesn't exactly have the job you think she does. He knew he couldn't hide it anymore. My mother blinked. I asked calmly, what does that mean? Letting the confusion sink in. Like what? I added. Emma gave a sharp laugh. Meaning there are things I haven't heard. Do you work at different restaurants? I'm proud to work at Silver Oak, I replied. Dad set his glass down loudly. Emma looked me over and scoffed. What did you just say? Not in customer service, I answered, letting the words settle before Ryan could jump in. Corporate. Her stare didn't move. Then her expression dropped. I'm the one who approves salary increases, I said. The room went silent. You could have heard a napkin fall. Ryan swallowed hard. Dad leaned in closer in shock. Emma's face drained of color. Mom froze mid-motion. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't brag. I simply added, again, congratulations on your promotion, Ryan. The final blow. I could barely form a smile as I watched my sister's reaction. She stayed silent for 8 long seconds. Her eyes widened, as if her mind had to reset. After a moment, she finally spoke, her voice weak. You approve raises? My eyebrows lifted. My aunt coughed into her napkin. My uncle muttered, well, that's something. As if I'd been living a secret double life. Yeah, Emma said, her tone suddenly higher. Ryan rubbed his neck. So Ava is actually one of the senior HR approval officers? Why didn't you tell me this? He asked, avoiding Emma's gaze. I had worked there for years. Because every time I tried to explain, you made jokes about her job. I decided the argument wasn't worth continuing. Her mouth fell open again, but for once she had nothing to say. Dad raised his eyebrows and stepped forward. Ava, is this true? You've been working in the corporate world this whole time? I answered with a calm smile. 2 years. The confused look Mom had been giving her faded, but when she shifted her gaze toward Emma, irritation flashed across her face. With a steady tone, she said, maybe we shouldn't make assumptions about people. Emma's cheeks turned red. Fine, but then why are you working as a waitress? Why not just say you had a real job? I took a slow breath. I preferred to keep different parts of my life separate, and honestly, I never felt the need to seek approval from people who had never cared to ask in the first place. Emma stiffened at my response. Dad cleared his throat, sounding as if he regretted everything. We didn't mean it, sweetheart. You were serious, I replied quietly. The tension in the room thickened. But it's okay, he added. It motivated you at least. The food is here. I'll have the pasta. And Emma ordered the salmon. Still, no one picked up their fork. Emma's pride hadn't even fully reacted yet. So what? She snapped. Now you're suddenly some high-level executive? No, I said simply. Ryan tried not to smile as he muttered, just someone good at their job. Someone who doesn't mind being underestimated. That's an understatement, Emma shot back, her stare sharp enough to cut through steel. Then she looked at me again, this time softer, almost unsure. In a low voice, she asked, "Was I the one who embarrassed you?" "Yes," I answered honestly. Silence fell over the table, and then something unexpected happened. "But I'm not here to get back at you," I added. "I just want basic respect." Mom leaned in and squeezed my hand gently. "We're proud of you," she whispered. "Really?" My chest tightened, and a warm, uncomfortable feeling rose in my throat. Dad nodded with more certainty this time. "You've built a life for yourself, Ava. We just didn't know." "Well, now you do," I replied. Ryan lifted his glass toward me. "By the way, that raise you approved changed my whole year. You didn't have to do that. You earned it," I said. "I knew your manager wouldn't argue." Emma closed her eyes as though she needed a moment. Then, quietly, she said, "I'm sorry." The reaction around the table was so stunned, it felt like a meteor had hit. My aunt even let out a small gasp. I studied Emma's face. For once, she wasn't performing. No attitude, no smirk. "I didn't know you felt that way about me," she said, staring at the napkin in her hands. She looked genuinely embarrassed. "You never asked," I replied gently. She swallowed hard and nodded. And surprisingly, I believed her. She seemed sincere when she said she would do better. The atmosphere slowly lightened. Tension eased. Dad allowed a small smile. Conversations resumed in softer, calmer tones while my aunt reached for her water bottle. Emma tried again. "Maybe after dinner you can tell me about your job, the real one." I smiled. "I'd like that." It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't the dramatic moment people imagine. It was quieter, more meaningful. I didn't need to humiliate her. I only wanted her to see who I actually am. And finally she did. By the time dessert menus were placed on the table, everyone seemed more relaxed, speaking normally again. It felt strangely like the evening had shifted onto a different track, one where I wasn't ignored or used as the family. While speaking to Ava, Ryan leaned over the table, resting his elbows on it, a small smile forming. "I have to admit, you really did manage to keep all of this quiet, didn't you?" "I did," I replied. "I wasn't hiding it to upset anyone. I just wanted a life where I didn't have to constantly explain my worth." Mom nodded, looking a bit uneasy. "We should have asked." "I would have appreciated if we'd paid more attention," I said softly. "But I don't hold anything against you." Emma shifted in her seat, running her fingers along the rim of her water glass. She somehow seemed smaller than before, still dramatic, still herself, but without the sharpness she usually carried. "So, would you mind telling me what you actually do?" she asked. "I mean, more specifically, what are your responsibilities?" I gave a simple explanation. "I handle personnel issues, mediate conflicts, negotiate raises, and approve compensation changes. Some days are easier than others. Period. And some days feel like juggling fire." Ryan nodded. "She's not exaggerating. You can't fool HR at Silver Oak." Emma looked me over with concern. "I always thought HR was just paperwork." "It's people," I corrected gently. "People with real problems, real worries, real goals. And sometimes I'm the only thing standing between them and an unfair situation." Her expression softened. "That actually sounds important." "It is," I replied. She swallowed before saying, "I shouldn't have mocked you. I honestly didn't know." I smiled, my tone warm but firm. "Now you do." The waiter returned with dessert, warm brownies and tiramisu for the table. For the first time that night, Emma slid her plate toward me. "Trade?" she asked, her voice quiet and genuine. I chuckled. "I still don't like cheesecake, but if it's in front of me, I'll end up eating it. She gave a small half-smile as we switched plates. A small gesture, but meaningful in her own way. Ryan lifted his coffee mug. To Ava, for the surprise tonight and for all the hard work she never needed praise for. My mom raised her glass next, then my uncle. Finally, Emma joins in, saying, "To the sister, who somehow became more impressive than the rest of us while we were too busy talking." Everyone laughed, real laughter this time, without the usual edge. A warm feeling built behind my eyes, and I blinked quickly so no one would notice. After dinner, I stepped into the hallway for a moment of fresh air. Emotional moments like this always made me pause to collect myself. I leaned against the wall, eyes closed, and took a slow breath. Emma quietly approached, arms crossed. She didn't seem like the sister who had teased me just hours earlier. "Ava, I'm really sorry," she whispered. "For years, I thought you just stopped trying. I honestly believed you were just waiting to get married." "That wasn't true," I said. "I was building something quietly." "I know that now," she said, shifting awkwardly. Hearing her say it lifted something heavy off my chest. "And I'm proud of you, even if I don't always show it." "Thank you," I whispered. After a brief silence, she added, "I want us to be better than sisters who constantly tear each other down. I don't want that to define us." I nodded, and she gave a small smile. "Me too." "So maybe we get coffee this week?" I suggested. "Just us. No jokes, no digs." I couldn't help but smile when she nodded. "I'd like that." When we walked back into the dining room together, the table seemed to collectively exhale, as if they had been holding their breath. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I belonged with them. Leaving the restaurant felt different, lighter. The air didn't press against my chest the way it usually did at family gatherings. The night had shifted, not because I wanted revenge, but because the truth finally had room to exist. As we walked outside, Ryan held the door. "Hey, Ava," he whispered. "I'm glad you finally spoke up. You didn't have to." "I know," I said, "but it felt like it was time." Emma stood beside him for a moment, looking kinder than I had ever seen her. She almost seemed relieved, and it caught me off guard. With her arm linked through his, Mom whispered to Dad, "We should invite her over more often." "Yes," he agreed. "We've been too distant." That alone made the whole night feel worth it. We all walked to the parking lot together, no one rushing ahead or trailing behind. For once, I felt like part of the group instead of standing on the outside. At my car, Emma called out, "Ava, wait!" I turned as she approached, uncertain but sincere. "Ryan wants to help you with something. And, honestly, so do I." I raised an eyebrow. "Help me?" She nodded and exhaled. "You've never let anyone help you with anything. You never ask anyone for help. You just move through life, even when things are difficult. It's easy to forget you're not made of stone," she said. "I'm definitely not," I replied with a small laugh. "Maybe it's our turn to show up for you." A warm, calming feeling spread through my chest. "That means more than you think," Ryan added. "If you ever need support, work questions, advice, anything, don't hesitate. And if anyone gives you trouble, I've got your back." "He means that in a non-weird way," Emma said, nudging him lightly with her elbow. "I know," I said, smiling. She looked at me again. "I'm serious this time. From now on, I won't joke about your job. I won't speak about you in a negative way. I want to do better." "I think we should both do better, moving forward," I replied. "Good," she said, her eyes brightening. "Then this is a new beginning." Our hugs started a bit stiff, but soon shifted into something more genuine. It became a long, tight embrace filled with unspoken apologies neither of us could fully voice. The bitterness didn't disappear, but its hold weakened. Later that night, when I got home, I kicked off my shoes, curled up on the couch, and opened my laptop. A new email notification chimed. "Ava, congratulations," read the subject line. It was from Silver Oak's Board of Executives. My heart sped up as I opened it. A wave of emotion hit me so quickly, I instinctively covered my mouth. "We are pleased to inform you that you have been selected for the position of Assistant Director. I had worked toward this for so long, and now it was finally happening. And for once, I didn't feel alone. I had people beside me. After years of pushing through by myself, I was finally stepping into the recognition I had earned." The timing felt almost unreal, like something out of a movie. After speaking up for myself and demanding respect from those who mattered most, I was now being acknowledged at work for the effort I had quietly put in for years. Tears blurred the screen as I blinked them away. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Emma. "Coffee tomorrow? My treat. I mean it. I'm proud of you, sister." I wiped my eyes and let out a small laugh. For the first time in a very long time, my life didn't feel divided between who I was at home and who I was at work. Everything finally aligned. I felt respected. I felt connected. I felt at peace. I experienced growth. I earned a new role. I stepped into a fresh start. And most importantly, I finally had a sister who saw and valued the person I truly am.